Well, we've just got a handful of days before the November 8th general midterm election, and a lot for voters to consider. Everything from the Amendment 1, codifying collective bargaining in the Illinois Constitution, to who's going to be the next governor, attorney general, secretary of state, treasurer, and so on. But there's also statehouse races. Each office is up for consideration because of the new legislative maps that were produced after the 10-year census. So you've got votes for senator and state representative all across the state. Now, some races here locally, I know my state senator is not being challenged. My state rep candidate is not being challenged, so I don't really have a choice there. I do have a choice in the 13th Congressional District, so that's an interesting race. But one of the things that we wanted to get to the bottom of heading into the election is where some of the candidates are standing on the issue of COVID-19 vaccine mandates for kids. This after, of course, the U.S. CDC made a recommendation to add the COVID-19 vaccine to the list of inoculations for the 2023 schedule for youth. And this schedule, it's not a mandate on schools, but states across the country do take that schedule from the CDC and they lay it over onto their policies as mandates. And interesting also is states differ on whether or not they have certain exemptions for COVID, not COVID, but just mandates of vaccines in general. And are we going to see this play out across the country where, you have states taking the CDC's recommendation and making it mandatory for kids to get the COVID-19 vaccine before going to a school? Illinois does have some exemptions, religious exemption and medical exemption. Other states have philosophical exemptions, but even other states are removing the religious exemption. So there's some concerns there, but that's, again, for the entirety of all the different vaccines that there may be required already for kids to go to school. Now, the thinking is that you could see the COVID-19 vaccine mandate for school kids because of the CDC's actions here. And we had to try to get a question into Governor J.B. Pritzker when he was staying up in the Chicagoland area. And a reporter did ask that question, Amy Jacobson from WIND AM 560 out of Chicago. She did pose the question to Governor J.B. Pritzker as to whether or not he's going to mandate the COVID-19 vaccine. We heard this last week, but in case you missed that, again, here's the governor talking about COVID-19 vaccine mandates.
During that's something that goes through the General Assembly. All of the vaccination requirements are heard by the General Assembly and decided upon by the General Assembly. And so it's obviously something we're listening to doctors about and making sure we're making the right decisions, but at this point, not required. I'm sorry, what? I think we should follow the scientists and doctors. That's what I've been doing all along. Make sure that we're doing the right thing here. The CDC has made a recommendation. That's true. But this is a process that we need to consider. Obviously, all across the state, we have representatives who want to be heard on this subject. I think it's appropriate.
So as you're talking to representatives or candidates, maybe that's a question you want to ask them, how they feel about this. Well, the governor did visit with several members of Congress that are running or members that are looking to get reelected to the Illinois Statehouse. He visited with them at Illinois State University in Bloomington-Normal earlier this week. And one of those individuals he was campaigning with was Peoria State Senator Dave Kaler, who's a Democrat. And he was asked by one of my colleagues about where he stands on COVID-19 vaccine mandates for school kids. And Kaler said that he doesn't want to see it mandated, but...
Yes, I think that it ought to be available and the schools ought to push it, especially if we see any kind of increases going on within this winter here.
So, again, that's Dave Kaler saying that he doesn't want it mandated, but he does want schools to have it available and to push it. He has a Republican opponent, Desi Anderson, and it'd be interesting to see what that Republican opponent has to say. We'll try to get that for you. But down here in the Springfield area, Republican Lisa Smith, she joined me yesterday on WMAY to talk about a variety of things. Of course, she talked about crime and education, but I also asked her about COVID-19 vaccine mandates for kids. and she shared her thoughts about where she's at on that particular issue, especially as somebody who works in medicine.
Okay, so this is the area that I practice in. I do pediatrics and I see kids, and I've done primary care in pediatrics for many, many years. And I am not an anti-vaxxer. I always recommended vaccines for kids for school and against the diseases we know are very dangerous for children and that kill children. And we have those vaccines out there, and kids get them, and everything's been good. We have a shot that is out there right now that I need to. When I'm looking at the research, and I do research on this. I mean, I've looked at the research on the vaccine, the adverse reactions to the vaccine, the data that shows if this virus is hurting children. And when I see all the data, I do not see a reason to be mandating a shot that neither prevents illness or transmission of a disease, and in most cases with healthy children does not even hurt if you do get the disease, it doesn't even hurt you, or you have no symptoms at all. This is why I feel that parents have the right to refuse vaccines for their children, and they are the person that needs to be in charge of this. They need the facts. They need to know the true facts about what is going on with this in children, and then make a decision on their own. Government has no place telling people they have to have a vaccine if they have issues against taking it. So
does your stance go for just the potential of a COVID-19 vaccine mandates, or is that for all vaccines? Because there is a list of vaccines that in every year at the beginning of school we hear about hundreds of Springfield District 186 students who can't go to school because they don't have the mandatory vaccines.
Well, so there is a form you can fill out to be so that you don't have to take it. And there's religious exemptions. There's other reasons you can say, I don't want my child to have this vaccine. And those are honored. What I'm seeing is a push to even have eliminating the exemption rule for religious. I mean, there is something out there right now that is saying we want to take away the religious exemption so that parents have no right to say, I don't want my child to have this vaccine. That is totally against our freedoms in this country, and we should not be allowing that. If you don't want your child to have something, I think we should honor that.
So again, that's Lisa Smith. We talked with her yesterday, and just giving you kind of a sampling of sorts of the different things that people are saying, vying for statehouse office. Now, we heard Dave Kaler. He said that he doesn't want it mandated, but he wants it available at schools and also for schools to push it. And Governor J.B. Pritzker saying it is up to the legislature. But Lisa Smith is not in the legislature. She's vying for a seat that's held by Sue Shearer, Democrat from Decatur, and I did reach out to Sue Shearer's campaign to conduct an interview and just haven't heard back. So we'll keep you posted on that. But other vaccine headlines here, especially when you consider that here in Illinois, while Governor J.B. Pritzker says it's going to be up to the legislature to mandate vaccines for school kids, he did take it upon himself to mandate COVID-19 vaccines for college students, college staff, and K through 12 staff. And some of those have been lifted, but he still has mandates in place for state workers who work in congregate settings like the prisons. And there's a pretty vibrant community on social networking that is sharing their concerns about being mandated to take this vaccine as a condition of employment. But you're seeing elsewhere, here's a headline for you. New York City firefighters, police, and teachers ask Supreme Court to halt the vaccine mandate. So here's this story. It says New York City firefighters, police officers, and other government employees who were fired after the city refused their request to be exempted on religious grounds from the COVID-19 vaccine mandate filed an emergency application with the Supreme Court earlier this week, asking for the mandate to be halted, saying that it's unfair that vaccinated adults, entertainers, and athletes were exempted from the mandate, while other unvaccinated workers were forced into compliance and were fired if they refused the jab. It's according to the senior counsel for the Alliance Defending Freedom in that particular case. So it'll be interesting to see what the Supreme Court does with this particular case as well. The Supreme Court threw out a major federal vaccine mandate back in January, if you remember that. It was interesting to see how this all progressed, because at first it was, New York City's mayor eating cheeseburgers and French fries, talking about vaccination. Vaccination. And then all of the, donut shops were giving away free donuts for people who were showing their vaccine card. And then all of a sudden we had vaccine passports implemented. And all of a sudden it started becoming mandated for people to keep their jobs. And people had to test weekly if they wanted to keep teaching in school. And so we saw the line here of, hey, it's great to get vaccinated. You got all these perks if you get vaccinated, to a hard mandate, and then the challenges. And now here we are with the CDC recommending it for young people, and some states possibly going to make that a mandate for young people to go to school. Keep you posted on that story as it continues to develop. It is Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on WMAY. You notice that my fingernails are pink? Well, it's because I am still raising money for Real Men Wear Pink, and you can help me raise funds, WMAY.com/pink, and it's all to help out the American Cancer Society, because 1 in 8 people are going to be diagnosed with breast cancer. It's devastating. And something that we can help with, all right? Crucial research, crucial support, the American Cancer Society doing that. Help me get $4,000, and the pink from my nails will go to my hair. All right, so we're almost there. We've got about $1,500 more dollars. I'm expecting a $500 match. So go donate today, WMAY.com/pink. Thanks to Heartland Hearing. Better Hearing starts today for helping us out with this. Again, WMAY.com/.